Evening, Dr. Walder. This is John James Parrish. I'll be talking today about the church in changing times, the organizational change, 51 led 512 class, Colorado Christian University. So now let's go ahead and get this situated here on my end. My topic is basically the church in changing times. It's basically I chose this one because I like history. I like looking at statistics and researching um, about the changing in times with church. All right, I'm not sure what's going. Why is it not? All right, so my agenda, I do apologize. I had some issues there, but my agenda is basically brief history of the separation of churches and God, state, Christian theism on our nations was born, culture, church, social media, and applications of the church and application to Church Finder, which is I think something that I wanted to talk briefly about too. Something I kind of thought about making here on our end and seeing something with, of course, on a blog. So this is more of a social change and everything like that. So let's go get started here. So a brief history of the separation of church and state. So what happened was written by Thomas Jefferson back in 1800s, 1880, 802, and then of course this is the time between 1802 and early 1900s is when he stated that there's a letter that he wanted to address out to the different representatives and senates and everything like that, and wherever was in the government, that churches and church business and state business should stay off from each other. And one thing I wanted to mention too was that church and state was our nation was born with throughout with the agenda here of our nation was born founded by God, our Constitution was written, at least 90 to 95% of it was through Christianity terms and everything like that. And I think that was something that was intriguing to me, knowing that our nation was brought up to that way. Okay, Christian theism was born. With that, a study showed when I did this study here on about how we were a Christian nation was brought up was from 1892 when the Supreme Court did its studies along those times and just said, hey, you know what, we are going to declare ourselves as a nation, as Christians. John Quincy Adams also said the highest glories of American revolutions was connected to our bond was the principle of civil government with the principle of Christianity. There's a lot of tensions going on and nowadays with church and with different beliefs and atheism and everything like that they should not forget that our nation was founded and born through the nation under God. There's many different examples out there, like Liberty Bell had engraving of Bibles. We also have the Constitution's had God in it 4 or 5 times throughout there. We also have the Bible being used at the oath there. Also, with the presidents being, sworn in. You have to be sworn in with the oath of, so help me God and everything like that. Our bill says God and trust with our dollar bills. I mean, so, if people are out there are saying, yes, our changing times in churches, but also we got to believe in understanding too that we have the history, we have the founders of our nation that we fought so hard to have a democracy over us, believing that having God and having a nation that has the principles leading towards the Christian theism. All right. At church's values, I kind of make this towards our studies on organizational behavior with Sagittarian. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I looked at in the levels of our churches of the 3 levels of culture, and I kind of made it brought up into that ways, and we talked about in this class with artifacts and creation, with like designing and building of the church. Some people actually look into that, the way people dress, with values, as long as it reaches, as people, how people treat each other there, if they're inviting or not within the church, what are the potentials of that values connected to that. Also, the assumptions on aligning the values of church, observation of how the organization is structured, social media and technology use, technology using in church nowadays is what would be like streaming, having the capability of having cameras around, having a streaming version, where people can actually go out there and use the, having sounds, bands, worship bands, and everything. Having that being said, the communication styles, a lot of the websites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagrams, YouTube. There's a lot of churches out there are using that to communicate with their members, everything like that. It's going to be continue to grow and be better for the churches out there to, they want to grow their. They want to have people grow in their love for God and people, and to have a ministry out there and a missions out there onto that. Okay, application. So what I was thinking was, making a building application for church partners, just in case of people out there that are looking for a church when they move, or when they're out and about, when they're having business plans or anything like, or business trips or anything like that, they want to take an opportunity to go into a church. Well, I was thinking about this app where you can find it through a zip code or through a city or state. And they would actually have you take a quiz where you can actually ask like several questions and answers, and then it basically pops up, what particular, brand or what particular church they're going to be out there. It's just another way to enhance that experience, to call home and enjoy that services and that time, fitting their needs and everything. I call it the quiz, church fitting and everything like that. So I was thinking that's something that would be good to have there on your end. Blog and website. This thing is going to have a working together with our church finding website. They're going to have different blogs, different resources to find, churches that will be better, status, demographics, data, statistics, changing on different churches, giving updates on those, giving modern trends about churches' styles, worship services, or anything like that. I'm pretty pumped up here knowing the churches is changing in times. It's going through the modern version. Yes, in the last, 20, 30, in the last 20, 30 years, it has not been growing that much, but as of the statistics says, within the last 10 to 20 years, it's all about making sure that it fits people's, lifestyles, fits their needs, and make sure that they still get that fun in knowing that they can go to church, knowing that they can worship God, and two, to believe in God in every way. And I'm ready to put my reference. If you have any questions, concerns, just give me a call, or you can just let me know if you have anything you want to talk about there. But yeah, that ends my my conclusions about changing church and changing times.